everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio Classics, where we listen to some older episodes with new intros, a little insight behind the scenes material. And this week of Classics episodes, I want the theme to be conspiracy theories that I discovered or believe in to one extent or the other. I think that's an interesting topic. Last season we did the Classics episode, Paranormal Stories I was involved in, and one of them involved the story about Comet Elenin and the plot to take over the United States. And I liked that episode, and I thought there's other episodes that involve conspiracy theories that I feel I was one of only a handful of people who have ever really looked into it. The digital TV conspiracy. I really like this episode for a couple reasons. One, I love it when I can tell three stories at once. I know a lot of people like the deep dives, but I always kind of like the shows like a news show where it's like little bulletins and stuff like that. And I don't like to cram stuff in, but whenever I can tell three stories in their entirety at once, I really like episodes like that. This one has a true crime story about a guy poisoning sandwiches, which is terrifying if you work, or if you go to school, if you're around anyone who may just be randomly hating you and you eat a sandwich. There's a topic about weird hallucinations people have, and that one, I was listening to it just the other day in preparation for this, and I have answers to none of those questions. Well, I'll let you listen to that one, because I think I go more into detail, but it's how people hallucinate. And then the last one, the digital TV conspiracy, and again, I'll just kind of go over that briefly, because I really go over it in the episode, but there was a time where the government, most of you guys were alive during this, but there was a time, I think you'd have to be 11 if you weren't alive when this happened. But there was a time when the United States, really governments around the world, were paying people to upgrade their television sets to digital TV. And as was going on, this was way before I had a show, and this was also when I was really believed all these conspiracy theories. I used to be a 9/11 truther. I used to believe all of this stupid stuff. Nowadays, I'm able to look at it a little more skeptically, I hope, and I find the entertainment value in all of it. But back then, back in, pretty much my entire life up until the mid-2015s, around there, I was much more believed in conspiracy theories and all sorts of paranormal stuff and everything like that. Now I'm a little more skeptical, or a lot more skeptical, but I remember when this was happening, it was weird because it was truly a They Live moment. And let me say, too, if you haven't seen the movie They Live, which would be shocking to me, but, generations, it's an older movie, just watch They Live. If you're a fan of this podcast, you will be a fan of the movie They Live. And I know a lot of you guys are going, of course, everyone's seen the movie They Live. Not everyone. They Live, you just watch it. It's an old John Carpenter film starring Rowdy Roddy Piper. Or Rowdy. It doesn't matter. He's just very rowdy, and it's a great movie. But it was that moment where I remember having no one to, because I never really talked about conspiracies with my friends, because I believed it. And I didn't want to, seem like a kook. And I wouldn't really even talk about it online. I would research stuff, but I never really interacted with many people online in forums and stuff like that. I was more of a lurker. And I remember I would go onto these conspiracy forums, and I'd look at these conspiracy websites, and none of them were talking about what was going on with this digital TV. And I remember thinking, am I the only one who thinks this is weird? And I was. It was really weird. Because you read forum after forum after forum about a flash of light in the World Trade Center. Like all these videos just about this 1 second thing. And you have this massive global switchover going. Nobody raised any questions. I think there's a couple reasons why conspiracy theories are so enduring. I think part of it is people want to make sense of things. I think people are trying to find some sort of logic in the chaos of the universe. Conspiracy theories make everything fit better. Kobe Bryant didn't die in a helicopter accident, which can happen to all of us. He was sacrificed so the Super Bowl could signify the end of the world, or whatever that lunatic was talking about on that past episode. But I've always had, and again, this is a personal conspiracy belief, and this actually, other people have shared this as well, but it's also not popular. The conspiracy theories that you know about, they're all fake. They're all fake, and they're made to divert attention from the real conspiracy theories. So when you hear about Mayan 2012 or the coronavirus, it's supposed to be this world-changing thing, and then it's all diverting your attention from something else, something more important. Every conspiracy theory, every big panic is being used to divert your attention from something else. That is the most jaded conspiracy theory possible. That if you know of the conspiracy theory, it's 100% fake. And it's using you to look at something when the real conspiracy theory you'll never know about is happening. But every so often, like with this digital TV thing, I remember just kind of watching this changeover happening and going, why is no one else even acknowledging that this is weird? Why is this just something that's happening and no one's talking about it? But I can read this entire forum post about Queen Elizabeth doing an interview, proves she's a reptilian. The truth is out there, but it's not in the direction you're looking. So let's go ahead and listen to this Dead Rabbit Radio classic episode 132, Digital TV, The Alien Conspiracy.
A man, a sandwich, and the ultimate murder plot. Then we take a look at the bizarre disease known as visual release hallucinations. What are they? How do you get them? And did people in the past see cartoons? It works, don't worry. And then we take a look at a personal conspiracy theory of mine. Why did the government pay for us to switch to digital television? Was it really to give people a better viewing experience? Was it a way to free up the airwaves for emergency personnel? Or was it something to protect us from something dark, sinister, and headed this way? Today on Dead Rabbit Radio. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. I hope you're having a great day too. We're going to kind of jump into this because we got a lot to cover. I did want to say this real quick though. On a previous episode, I told people to go see Bumblebee. I think most of you guys know, as most of you guys are reaching for the skip button. Give me a second. I think most of my listeners know I'm a big Transformers fan. I did go see Bumblebee this weekend. Check it out. I enjoyed it. It was actually quite different from the other Transformers movies. If you weren't a fan of those, you know, I described it to my little brother, and I said it felt more like an early 2000s superhero film, on the level of like the original Spider-Man or the X-Men movies. The whole movie took place in one location, which, you know what, and I have to say this, I did enjoy the movie, but I have a personal bone to pick with the director. The director of it, Travis Knight, is from Oregon, and the movie is set in California, but the whole movie I thought it was set in the Pacific Northwest because it kind of looked like it. Set it in Hood River, bro. If you're gonna make a movie with Bumblebee and Optimus Prime, spoiler alert, if you're gonna make a movie with Transformers walking around on Earth, set it in Hood River. Set it in a place. You grew up in the Pacific Northwest, man. Set it in San Francisco? No. And you don't even know it's San Francisco until like maybe the last 10 or 15 minutes of it. They make kind of an offhand remark, and then they show the Golden Gate Bridge at the ending. Set it in Hood River. Set it at least somewhere that I can visit. Dude, I would have given my left arm to simply see a film set and see the Volkswagen Bug and all this stuff. I'm like, transform! The director's like, these aren't real Transformers, they're just cars, dude. And I'm like, come on, you can do it, Bumblebee! Transform! But anyways, it was basically on the level of like Herbie or E.T. was more that kind of story. There weren't any of these huge war zones that are pretty typical for the other 5 Transformer films, but there are some robot-on-robot fistfights, which was cool. Definitely had a different feel, but I would definitely recommend going to see Bumblebee. If you've already abandoned the franchise, but you still have a love for Transformers, I think this movie will reignite it. If you're not a fan of Transformers, but you're a fan of, like, bumbling alien on Earth stories, you may like it. But I definitely liked it, but I'm a fan of the source material as well. And again, it really gave a new flavor to the story, to the whole thing. It was weird. I don't know if it was kind of a reboot, kind of a prequel. I kind of feel they did some rewrites, because this movie was being prepped when Transformers 5 was being released, and Transformers 5 totally bombed. Well, it didn't totally bomb, but it didn't make as much money as they thought it was going to, so I'm wondering if they did some rewrites to kind of make it more of a reboot, because it kind of had a toe in each set of water. But in Transformers 5, it explained that Bumblebee actually helped fight the Nazis, and in this movie, Bumblebee leaves Cybertron for the first time. So, and I did a previous episode about the theory that Optimus Prime is a murderous psychopath, and that's Michael Bay's subversive take on American politics. And this one, Optimus Prime is not a total lunatic killing machine. So, interesting take on the source material, Travis, but I did enjoy it. So, I wanted to go ahead and talk about it, though. I do recommend it. It's a good Christmas movie, especially if you have kids as well. Or you're a kid at heart. And no, I'm not being sponsored by Bumblebee. Or who made it? Paramount? I'm not being sponsored by them either. I'm not being sponsored by anybody. So if you want to sponsor me, hit me up, deadrabbitradio@gmail.com. We're going to go ahead and jump into our first story, though. Our first story, this happened back in June of 2018, so very, very recent. We don't have a lot of details as far as like what's going to happen with this. But if you work in an office or you work anywhere that has a break room, we've all experienced this. Food bandits. Human raccoons is what we call them. Those of us who don't indulge in this. You bring your lunch, you bring your food to work, you put it in the fridge, and then you go later to open it up and get your ham sandwich or whatever you bring in, and there's a bite taken out of it or it's all gone. I actually think finding it with a bite taken out of it is more insulting, because then someone took a bite out of your food and is so callous they could put it back in the bag. If you just go and it's missing, well, they're both idiotic. But if you go and it's missing, then you think, well, man, someone ate my sandwich. But if someone took a bite out of it and put it back, it's kind of like they're spitting in your face. I have been the victim of human raccoons maybe twice in my life. It doesn't happen very often to me, but it has happened. And I know a lot of people it's happened to constantly. And both times it happened to me, I was so furious, so mad. I was thinking of ways to booby trap food. I was like, oh, maybe I could not wash my hands. And I was like, well, Jason, you don't do that anyways. That's not a booby trap. That's just normally you. But you think of ways to dirty the food, and then you realize that you could actually get in trouble for that if they get really sick, and you're like, ha, I didn't wash my hands. And they're like, Jason, you never wash your hands. I'm like, but this day I was particularly messy. But this story doesn't involve a human raccoon. It involves something far more dangerous. So it's June, it's 2018. We're in Germany. So, I'm going to butcher this name. We're in the town of Schloss Holt Stukenbrock. Actually, I think I got that right. Anyways, so we're in Germany. We're in this town. And this dude goes to eat his lunch. And he's like, looking around. He's like, good, no human raccoons have been here. But for whatever reason, before he eats his sandwich, he looks at it. Now, I've never done that. I've never been like, time for a good meal. Time for me to turn this sandwich inside out, make sure no one's done anything to it. But for whatever reason, he gets his sandwich and he goes, And he lifts the top piece of bread. Here, it's some sort of weird powdery substance smeared on his meat. And no sex joke there. He notices there's something smeared on his meat. And he goes, this is weird. I didn't put this on. I did not add any powder to any smellless, tasteless powder to my food. What is this? So he goes to his boss and he's like, hey man, there's this weird powder on my food and I don't want to get too crazy about it, but I didn't put this stuff on here. And I don't know what it is. And the boss goes, well, we have video cameras in the break room, oddly enough. And the employee's like, what? You're spying on us? And the boss is like, no, just forget I said that. But I will go into this room that has all these security monitors that aren't recording the break room, and I will then walk out with an answer of what happened in the break room. And as the employee stood there scratching his head, I don't know if that exchange actually happened. I would question why my boss was videotaping the break room. But they watch the video footage, and they see another employee walk in, pull the dude's sandwich out, and start to sprinkle a powdery substance on the sandwich. And at that point, they're like, what the hell is this? What is this? We should figure out what he did. I guess there's a shorter way to say that, but... And the two guys are looking at each other and they go, what did he do? What did he put on the sandwich? So they must have been suspicious for some point, because at that point, if I had video of someone spreading stuff on my sandwich, I would go directly talk to the person and be like, yo, bro, what'd you do? But they actually had a toxicology report run on the sandwich. And it came back, it was something called toxic acetate. Toxic acetate? Anyways, the word toxic should be enough for you. It is a tasteless, smellless, highly dangerous chemical that damages your organs. Now, when I said they must have had their suspicions about this, and that's why they had it tested, there was a reason to be suspicious. At this place of business, 21 people died before they were supposed to retire. They weren't police officers. This wasn't retiree. This was people just dying in this office building, dying before